Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk About It with Ty. For today's episode, I'm going to be talking about things that happened behind the scenes on Destination X, what it was like filming, and I have some goodies to show you. So I'm going to start with the goodies because that's my favorite part. Backstory, how I got the goodies and what the goodies are. After I was eliminated in Amsterdam, I was hanging out talking with Jeffrey, and right when we were wrapping up filming, I noticed that, with the production as a part of the show, they had decorated that scene with different artifacts and objects, things from the Netherlands, things that were Dutch, and it was cool stuff. I really, really wanted a tulip, but of course, I knew I wouldn't be able to take it through customs. So I asked Jeffrey, I was like, can I take something home with me? Because even though I didn't win, I'm not trying to go home completely empty-handed. I'm a memory type of person. I a little bit of a pack rat, but I love memories. I love mementos. I'm very nostalgic, so I wanted to take home something that would remind me of the experience. So that's what I have, and here it is. It's not a whole lot, but this is it. This is actually my like kind of. I think this was the bag where when we first started filming, they had to of course take our cell phones, our iPads, watches, all electronics, our cards, our money, and we had to like write it down and inventory everything. And I believe this was the bag where all when I got my personal items back, it has my name on it at the top, and then Ty, and then Ty, and I put my stuff from Amsterdam in here. So the first thing that I have is this postcard, very very Dutch with the tulips, and it got a little bent in my purse, but when I was traveling home in my bag. But this is cute. This is always going to remind me of the show, the tulips, the clue that I never got to see, the clue that Rick and Biggie kept from me. I was so mad about winning that challenge after the fact. I was like, I should have just thrown it. But, anyways, this is cute. This is nice. I really like this. And then I have this, which is, it's like a Dutch handkerchief. And then it has this clog on it. Oh, yeah. So you can see there's like a cute design on it. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. And it says Holland on it. And look, there's a picture of a windmill. There's a windmill on there. Yep. So this was nice. I was like, okay, I'll keep this. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but this is mine now. And then I guess it was only three things. I thought there was something else, but I've kept this stuff packed up the whole time. But this, I took this little can. So it actually had Stroop waffles in it. So I took this with me, and when I came home after I was eliminated, I shared the Stroop waffles with my family. I played it off like, oh, I just got this as a souvenir from the airport or something. Because even though my family knew I was eliminated, only three people in this world, up until episode 4, knew that I was going home. And that was my mom, my dad, and my brother. There's only people that knew. So yeah, I played it off to them. I was like, oh, I got this from the airport, and I shared the Stroop waffles with them. But this is really cool. I love this. I use it. I have like coins or something in here. What is this? Hold on. Oh, I have like money from other countries. Where is this from? Costa Rica. Okay, I have a little Costa Rica thing in here. I put that in here. Oh, I have another one of my little pieces of tape. I think this was on my, it says tie. It's like faded. But I think this was on my luggage that they had marked for me on the show. Okay, and then there's something else. But I just have a couple little personal things in here. But yeah, these are my little memories, my Dutch memories from being eliminated in Amsterdam. So, one other thing that I wanted to talk about behind the scenes was, and I get this question a lot, how we actually got to the challenges from the bus. So, I made a post today on my Instagram, and I put some pictures. And there's a couple pictures where you can see us with members of production, and we have goggles on. We also wore headphones, we wore noise canceling headphones every single time we stepped off of the bus to do a challenge to prevent us from being able to hear people speaking in the local language, or maybe to prevent Rick from hearing them damn birds that he was getting his own clues off of. Oh my gosh. For context, when we were on the show, Rick did not tell anybody he was a bird watcher. I was shocked when I was eliminated. I came home. I looked him up. I saw birding with Rick. I was like, bird? He watches birds? Had no idea. He kept that completely secret from us. And it was his secret weapon. I remember very distinctly when we were in Paris, when we were doing the croquet challenge. We're outside, and the birds were just chirping. They were making so much noise. And I'm a bird person. I love birds. I love all animals, but I really love birds. I've had pet parrots since I was 6 or 7 years old. So I'm a bird girl. I don't know wild birds though, but I just remember when we were doing the challenges and I could hear all the birds chirping, I thought to myself, that would be really a really good skill or knowledge to have if I knew wild birds. Because if you know their migration patterns and the time of the year, you can kind of figure out, you can narrow it down, process of elimination as to where you are. And it seems like on the show, that is what Rick did. Very clever, very smart. So behind the scenes, we always were blindfolded to get to the challenges. The way the edit looks, it's, they don't show that. They just show us all of a sudden like, oh my God. And we're not like surprised. It's like, how did we get here? What is this? I mean, we know we're going to a challenge, but you just really don't know what you're going to see once you take the blindfold off. So those reactions are real. Those reactions are genuine. Obviously, when we were doing the mountain challenge, we had to put on snowsuits and boots. They gave them to us. So I knew we were going to be in some snow situation. And it took us a very long time to get to the top of the mountain. We took like 3 different ski lifts. I don't know how long it took. I would say an hour more. It took forever because we had to walk really slow. So we would put on, they would tell us, it's time to put on our goggles. We would put them on while we're on the bus, and then producers would buddy up with us one-on-one and guide us, escort us. So they would literally be like locking arms with us, like holding us because I can't see, where to step. So we were blindfolded, stepping off the bus and walking to whatever challenge it was. There were a couple challenges where we had to take a smaller shuttle bus, which would drive us closer to the actual location. I believe that was the case in Paris with the maze challenge. That was a really long filming day, by the way. All of these challenges on TV, when you watch it, you're watching the challenge and it's like, oh, it's there and gone in 5 minutes. In real life, it was an all day affair. They had multiple people that they had to look after. Like I said, make sure nobody trips, falls, breaks their neck. So we had to walk slow steps. We walked on blindfolded, all types of terrain, sand. Oh, I hated walking through the sand in that desert challenge. I hated that one. The snow just stressed me out in my head because I didn't want to slip and die and, slip and hurt myself. I didn't want anything to happen to me. But other than that, most of the other challenges when we're just like regularly just walking on somewhat even terrain, I was just like, okay. But then we also had the noise canceling headphones on too. So there's a lot of sensory deprivation, even on the bus. That was sensory deprivation because we are not able to see sunlight. The bus, completely blacked out. Those windows, sometimes, I mean, you could kind of see a little bit the position of the sun, but I mean, it's not like any natural light was coming in. Some people on the bus were trying to strategize and figure out what direction we were traveling in. I think Rick was having those conversations. I think Biggie was having those conversations about, the sun rises on the east and sets on the west, and we're going to. That was all above my head too. Okay. But I did not realize going into the game that the sensory deprivation would be something that was definitely felt amongst the cast, not being able to see the sun or just sunlight in general for days at a time, not touching grass, just being totally cut off from the outside world. And then all of a sudden you do a challenge and you take the goggles off and you're like, oh, okay, wow, fresh air again and sunlight and grass or sand or snow, whatever it was. those were definitely really like kind of fun up moments for me at least, because it just felt so good to get off of that stuffy bus and just get some fresh air, some sunshine. That was really a highlight for me. Something else behind the scenes that you don't see on this show at all. You never see us eating. We ate, they fed us, but they never put that in the edit. Also, probably just boring footage because we're just eating. But we had a team of caterers, chefs that traveled with us. So this was a very, very, very large production. I believe they said there was a crew of over 200 people traveling with us at all times. So we had a crew of, yeah, chefs that would make our meals. The meals, the first couple of days, the meals were kind of rough. And I say this with love, but the rumor or that saying that British food is nasty? Our production crew is British. They are European, they were British. And unfortunately, the rumors are true. The food was very unseasoned. Yes, the food was just not seasoned. It wasn't bad, but just no seasoning. It was just plain, you know? And I remember very clearly for like the mountain challenge, before we went to the mountain challenge, we had like some kind of salad for lunch. And I'm a pescatarian, so when I requested my salad, I didn't want any chicken on it. But when I got it, I thought it was a Caesar salad. I was told it was supposed to be a Caesar salad. There's no Caesar dressing. So, yeah, we had to request dressing, we had to request condiments, just kind of like basic things. It was a little bit of trial and error with the food. Most times, we were just kind of given whatever the chefs made for that day, but there were opportunities for us to give input. Um, Story time. So one of those opportunities, they asked like, "Oh, what does everybody want?" And the group consensus was like Mexican food. I'm a very picky eater. I don't like Mexican food. I mean, I like it, but I don't like most of the ingredients that they tend to include in their dishes. Things like peppers. I hate peppers. I don't like peppers. I don't like onions. I don't like guacamole. I don't like pico de gallo. I just don't like a lot of stuff. I just would want it plain. So everybody wanted Mexican food. And I'm like, that's fine. I said, look, just make me a cheese and shrimp quesadilla. Nothing on it. Maybe lettuce. I probably did ask for lettuce, but nothing else on it. And so then I don't know however long it took for them to actually make the food after they took our orders. But when I got my quesadilla, it had black beans all up in that bitch. I don't like beans. And I was extremely hungry and I was not happy about that. So I was very clear. I didn't want anything on it but cheese and shrimp. And then I think they said that they couldn't get shrimp or they didn't have shrimp. I said, okay, I'll just take a cheese quesadilla. Like I will eat very, very basic food because like I said, I'm just picky. It's just about my whole life. But our production crew, they are amazing. The beans all over the quesadilla, I was just like, look, I don't eat beans. I don't like beans. I asked for this plain. What else can happen? And they were amazing. They immediately, I don't know how they did it, but it was quick. They got me something else. And then they also got me McDonald's. So I actually had a little bit of McDonald's, and I don't eat McDonald's. I think I ate some of the fries. Yeah, I only ate some of the fries. And then they got me some other type of sandwich, like some kind of like veggie sub thing, but that was good. That was good. For the most part, the food was pretty good after we had some talks about like, hey, not only do we need seasoning, we need some salt, we need some pepper. I said just tell the chefs, go to the store and just get like an all-purpose seasoning and just every time they in there, just put it on there. So after we kind of got that stuff straight, we also had snacks. We were really hungry a lot of the times on the bus. And I don't know. I don't know if it's just like we're greedy Americans or we're just used to eating bigger portions or more food, but we were hungry. I think some of it for me was also boredom, just sitting on the bus. And like I said, there were some days where we just had a full travel day on the bus. We did not get off. We were just trying to get, to the next destination, and there was no challenges scheduled for that day. And you're just like sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, and there's nothing else to do. And then they started bringing some snacks. So I was like, okay, we'll just snack. So for snacks, I requested apricots, dried apricots. I would eat a lot of those. We had some popcorn. I remember the popcorn was kind of dry. And like Doritos, I didn't really eat those. And some other stuff. I think it was like a lot of chips. I'm not a big chip person, but I think dried cranberries. I requested that too, and they got it for us. So they were very, very accommodating. So whenever, they would ask for us. They would take orders. What do you guys want to eat? Snacks, just stuff to have on the bus. There were a couple castmates. I know Mac was one of the big ones, maybe Biggie too, who really, really liked energy drinks. I think they were monsters. So there were always constantly, monster energy drinks coming in. And I had requested hot chocolate because there was a certain day where they went out and they were like, well, we're going to get Starbucks or whatever. So let's just take everybody's orders. And I don't drink coffee. So I was like, I just want hot chocolate. And then after that, I was like, can I have hot chocolate again? They were like, sure. So I guess they just bought the hot chocolate mix and I would have hot chocolate in the morning for my breakfast. Breakfast was always my favorite meal too. I feel like the chefs got breakfast right pretty much all the time, except for in the very, very beginning. Like day one of filming, the breakfast was, I think it was just yogurt. Was there a little granola or blueberries or something with it? But that was it. Okay, we running around doing these challenges. We're also grown adults. I'm gonna need some carbs. I'm gonna need, some more than that. Like, slide me a slice of French toast. Can I get some eggs up in here? Like, I need energy to start the day. But breakfast was really good. They got really, really good with the breakfast. And then they would also have like different energy bars and things like that that were available. They did have chocolate too. They had some candy. They had like chocolate bars and things like that. And at one point I was eating too much chocolate. I was eating way too much chocolate. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gaining so much weight because I'm just sitting here snacking on chocolate all day. I love chocolate, but I don't really eat that much candy. I'm not like a candy person, but if it's in front of me and it's offered to me, yeah, I'll start eating it. So I would just like snack on the chocolate. But overall, like I said, the food was pretty decent. The food was pretty decent. It got better the more that we kept going along. Let's see, what else can I talk about that was behind the scenes? Going to the bathroom, the toilet situation, the shower situation. That's what I'm going to talk about next. How could I forget? So on the bus, we did have a lavatory. So we were able to relieve ourselves on the bus. However, since it's a bunch of people on a bus and, we're traveling for hours and hours a day, we had a rule: no pooping on the bus. Can't poop on the bus because that's rude. That's rude. So you can only pee on the bus. And if you had to poop, we had to stop. And within our caravan of just the production, we had a separate porter potty, like, shuttle. So we called it like the shitty shuttle, the shit shuttle. So yeah, so we had a poop bus. We had a poop bus that followed us around, and we would take stops every so often, but the goal was really to make sure we make it to the next destination on time. So, if we were going for a while and a while and a while, and it's like, dang, we're not stopping, we're always mic'd up. So we would just kind of like whisper and be like, I have to poop. I have to take a shit. Can we stop? That's our production. That is time to go to the bathroom. And, for the cast, it's just one of those things where we got very close. We got very, very close. Because then all of a sudden they were like, oh, are we stopping? Yeah, I got to poop too. So I would try to like poop first. I would try to get in the front and poop first before like everybody went in there. But yeah, we had the shitty shuttle, and the way that even worked, still blindfolded. It's not like, oh, we're taking a bathroom break. Okay, y'all, we're just gonna open up the door. Everybody get out and go do your business. No, you have to go to the bathroom. Put your blindfold on. Here you go. Put your goggle on. Put your blindfold on. And here you go. Take my arm. Take my hand. Here goes production. Walking us down the steps. They'll walk us outside to the poop bus, and they would guide us blindfolded up the steps to the poop bus, close the door behind us, and then say, okay, you can take it off now. They were very thorough. They did an excellent job making sure that we didn't see anything we weren't supposed to see. And I would just use the bathroom, and then I would have to put the goggles back on and then knock and say, "Hey, I'm ready." And then they would open it up, take my hand, guide me down the steps, and then walk me back to the actual shuttle. That's how that worked. Showers. There are no showers on the bus. We also have portable showers that traveled with us. So at night we would be parked at rest stops. And all I can say about the rest stops is the ground was always like an asphalt, like blacktop, like parking lot type of surface. Always. I don't think we were ever stationed somewhere on grass. No, it was always like some kind of blacktop. And they would install these big canopies with a blackout on the top, like a black, I don't want to call it a roof, but yeah, it was just like a tarp and it was black. So the bus would be parked and that tarp canopy thing would be above us. So that's why I say when we just did not see the sun, didn't see like the stars, the moon, the sky, nothing. You just look up and it's just like a black tarp and then a black top down here. And we would have the bus parked and then we could go to the showers and the bathroom. So we had, I think it was like two of each. Yeah, there were two toilets and two showers, and we would just take turns using those. Um, I mean, it was just giving if you go to like music festivals like Coachella, I've been to Coachella, and they have the portable showers in the bathrooms. It was the same thing. It wasn't so hard trying to share them, not too much, or maybe not for me, because I would wake up earlier than the rest of the crew, or I'm sorry, the rest of the cast on filming days to do my makeup. So I would always try to just like stagger it in to do my bathroom stuff. I would try to get that stuff done before everybody else woke up. And usually that worked out pretty well. So yep, that's the bathroom and shower situation. Bedtime. Next, I'm going to talk about bedtime. So when it was time to go to bed, we didn't really have. We kind of did have a not a bedtime, but we had lights out. The lights would. It wasn't a set time. We finished filming at different times on different days, but they were like, okay, we're putting the lights out, in 20 minutes or whatever. The group kind of just usually, we would all be winding down at the same time. And we needed to go to bed because the next day there's going to be a lot to do. So bedtime was, sleeping on the bus. I didn't mind it. I liked my bunk. I liked my little cubby. I think I liked it so much because it was the only place I had privacy. I loved my little curtain. Oh my gosh. I would go into my bunk at night and this would be my routine. I would go over in my mind, because we're not allowed to have pen or paper, every single clue and every single challenge and what day it was. I was doing so much mental gymnastics on that show. But so, for example, like the first day we did the luggage challenge, I would say to myself, I'll be like, day one, luggage challenge. The crates were Sweden, Spain, Greece, Croatia, Italy, blah. Okay. Day two was a travel day. Day three was the well challenge. Well challenge. My clues were Romeo and Juliet. This, that. I would do that every single night in my bunk. So when it was kind of bedtime, I was ready to just, yeah, lights out, everybody be quiet, let's go to bed. Let me do my recap, make sure I remember everything. And I was trying to remember everything because I had a feeling that at the end of the game, whatever the challenge would be a culmination of all of the clues and, everything that we did, similar to the Amazing Race, where most of the times at the end they do that. So I was always just like rehearsing and memorizing everything pretty much in my head day by day. And then every day I have to pile more into it. But I like the bed. The bed was comfortable. They had a lot of pillows. I do remember that. And the pillows were like really, really fluffy and tall. So I think we had two each and then like a mini one. And I would only sleep on one. But I did like the bus and everything. I felt like it was comfortable. There wasn't a lot of storage space, of course, so we had these little cubbies that were right underneath our beds, and that's where you would put all your stuff, your clothes, your shoes, your toiletries, everything would have to be in there. And I personally, when I came onto the show, I brought packing cubes. I was a flight attendant. That's just how I'm used to traveling and packing, keeping everything organized. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me. And I think maybe because I was just like used to that, just kind of living out of a suitcase anyway. So I'll just pull out my packing cubes. Okay, this one has, my shoes in it. This one has my makeup in it. And then just repack them up and stuff everything in there at the end of the night. So yeah, that's how that went. I know what I'm going to talk about next. Off days. So when we were filming the game, we would have one day a week that was an off day. And that off day just means we're not filming. We're not traveling. We're staying at the rest stop. You can come in and off of the bus and it was like a gated thing. I wish I had a picture or something visual, but it was gated off with the canopy, the blacked out canopy on top, and the bus park. So we're just like in this like kind of like cube. So on our rest days, we were allowed to make one phone call home for 10 minutes. And it really was just 10 minutes. And they would allow us to call we had to give them ahead of time an emergency contact. And it was like two people that we could give them their names and numbers that we would be able to contact. So, excuse me. Mine was my mom, my mommy. So I look forward to rest days. So I'd be able to talk to her. That 10 minutes went by so fast. And when we did have the talks with them, there were a few like parameters or rules just to keep the fairness of the game. So what was it? It was something with like time. Yeah, I think we weren't allowed to have conversations with our loved ones about um I think something with like what like time, because they didn't want us to be able to try to think about time zones. Gosh, I wish I could remember what it was and why. Something like that. Something like that. Maybe if one of my cast members watches this, they'll refresh my memory. But I remember, yeah, we couldn't ask them anything related to just like time. That was one thing. And of course, we can't just to tell them where we are or anything about the show. So when we would have our one-on-one calls, we would go to a separate trailer. It was actually a trailer that also traveled with us that had a vanity table in it. It was our getting ready room. There was a vanity table with, the mirrors, the little 3 mirrors, trifold mirrors, and the lights and everything. And it had like a couple stools. And that's where the girls would do hair and makeup in the morning. So we would go in there one at a time with a member of production. The entire phone call had to be on speaker, and they had to sit and listen and monitor the whole time to make sure that I'm not, anyone isn't trying to communicate with their loved one to get any type of information or whatever. They don't want nobody cheating or saying something that you're not supposed to say. So they did listen in, and it was funny because I think it was my first phone call that I had with my mom, and my mom loves Boy George. And like I said, the production crew is British. So when she had greeted the member who was also on speakerphone with us and she heard his accent, my mom's like starting to talk to him and she's like, "Do you know Boy George?" And I'm like, "Mom, I only got 10 minutes and you're talking about other stuff that doesn't matter. Let me tell you what's been going on." But yeah, everybody really, really look forward to those phone calls. And then another behind the scenes moment, Rick actually had a birthday. He had a birthday, I think it was after, it might have been somewhere around Geneva, Rome ish. And if I'm not mistaken, his actual birthday was on the rest day. So yeah, it was perfect. I think that was his actual birthday. We celebrated it. So the production, they got us some beer and wine. And whenever they would get anything, from the outside, I'm saying the outside because we're in the game, we're trapped in the game. When they would get anything from the outside world, they would have to take off the labels. So they would like strip the labels off of everything so that we wouldn't be able to see, made in Italy or whatever. They did a good job of, like I said, just keeping the game tight so that we wouldn't like be able to get extra information that we weren't supposed to have. So we did have like beer and wine. We ate together. We played cards. I learned how to play or relearned how to play poker. I learned how to play poker when I was in, I think, freshman year of college, and I haven't played since, so I kind of forgot it. But we learned how to play poker. Rick taught me how to play rummy. And I know I taught some of them how to play spades. We played a little bit of spades, but on off days, we were allowed to play card games. They brought us some card games, and we would just hang out. They took a couple requests for off days too. I had brought with me some face masks because I just, be trying to take care of my skin and stuff. And I wanted some more. So I put a request for more face masks and also foot masks. So I remember on rest days, I would do my face mask. I would try to just take care of my skin. I really treated it as a self-care day to decompress, take care of myself, and just reset, recharge, and be ready for the next challenge. So the rest days were really fun. And during the rest days, those were also chances where the cast got to bond even more. Like I said, playing card games and going back to Rick's birthday, even. I had asked the production members if we could have a little music because we don't have any devices. We no music. I had no music this whole time. It was crazy. You don't realize how much you miss music until you're deprived of it. But I was like, yeah, can we play some music? And Rick had picked out a song that he wanted to listen to. It was a country song, one that I wasn't familiar with, but I remember listening to it and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. Happy birthday, Rick. So yeah, that was nice. And when I think back to my experience on Destination X, it's not just playing the game and what you see on TV. It's also these moments behind the scenes and how we develop these friendships and relationships with each other, the cast, and also with production. We spent a lot of time with these people. And production, they know us. They really know us because we were always mic'd up and they're always watching us from their production room on the cameras and everything. So we were really tight. We were really tight. And they were a huge support system. There's actually a team within production, which is the welfare team. And that's what they did. They looked out for us. They made sure we were taken care of, making sure we're fed, making sure that we're okay. If someone was having like an internal or an emotional struggle or issue, then they had resources. We had a psychologist that was on call. I believe I think the psychologist traveled with us for the first couple of days, maybe the first week or so. And then after that, they were just available by telephone, but like anytime. So if you were having like personal challenges and things like that, you did have that outlet and some support to talk to. And that was really helpful. We also had a nurse, I think she was a registered nurse. I'm not sure if she's an MD, but her name was it Liz? Was it Liv? I can't remember. Loved her. She took such good care of us. Speaking of my own experience, I was bitten by a horse fly somewhere around. Yeah, I think it was from Rome. And I had this huge mark on my thigh. It was literally probably like this big. Okay, you see that? It was huge. Like all on the side of my thigh. And I remember like I was going to bed and I was in bed and I was just I was like, oh, something kind of bit me. And I was like rubbing it. It didn't hurt or itch that bad. And then when I woke up morning, it was like I said, it was like raised and it looked really dark. And I'm like, Liz, where are you? What happened? And she was like, oh yeah, it's just a horse bite. They do get, pretty nasty and they look worse than what they actually are. It took a long time for that to fade too. That didn't fade until after I got home, like weeks later, to completely fade. But we did have her on staff. So if, anybody ever got hurt, or especially when we were doing challenges that were, had an element of danger in them, things that, we could get hurt. She was always, just right there advising us, especially when we did the mountain challenge because the air is so thin up there. She made sure we were hydrated. She made sure we had our hand warmers. We didn't want nobody getting frostbite. She was like, she kind of felt like the mom, she was always come here, sweetie, you got this, you need this. Okay, you doing good? Are you hungry? Do you need a protein bar? Perfect. So I'm so grateful for that. This is my only show so far. This is my only experience, but our production team is top notch, absolutely top notch. They were fun, they were professional, they were just really there for us. Like, I felt like they really did care about us, and they wanted to ensure that we had a good experience and that we were able to, just play the game the way it was meant to be played and have fun. So yeah, that's all I have for behind the scenes stuff. Oh, actually, you know what? Lie. I have one more thing. This is a personal thing. So in the show, different episodes, different points in times, you'll see like Rachel was wearing these little like rhinestones, just with her makeup like around her eyes, and then I started wearing some too, and I borrowed them from her because I saw them. I was like, oh, those are cute. Can I have some? And she was like, yeah. So after she got eliminated and I eventually got back on, we were allowed to go to our bunks to sleep at night. This is what was on. Hold on, let me get it. These are what was on my bed. So after Rachel got eliminated, she left packs of the little rhinestones behind for me. And that was really sweet. That let me know she probably isn't mad at me. She probably doesn't think that I set her up. And after she left, I kept putting them on in her honor. It was like, I'm so sorry, Rachel. R.I.P. Queen. I'm sorry. But yes, I just wanted to show that too. Rachel, I still have these. They're still in my makeup bag. Like I said, I'm just a very nostalgic person, so I'm never going to open or wear any more of those. I just keep them as a memory of something that my friend left behind for me. So anyways, that is it for real. Hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for another episode.